Welcome to your weekly forecast. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in these weekly forecast videos, I go over the astrological energies for the week ahead. In this video, we will be going over the energy from September 4th to September 10th, 2023. Now, if you align with my energy and you enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit the post notification bell so that you can get notified every time I upload a new video. So I always start these weekly forecast videos off by touching on some of the energy that we are coming out of. And there's really just one big energy I would love to talk about, and that is the fact that we have Venus now direct. Venus station direct September 3rd, late in the evening. So depending on your time zone, it could be either late September 3rd, early September 4th. So we're really just feeling this energy coming into the week. This energy we have been moving through really since June, because Venus entered Leo back in June. Venus stationed retrograde July 22nd, and now we have been in this reflection, reevaluation, redirecting period where we really have been kind of sitting with energy. If this can have to do with relationships, money, finances, self-love, self-worth, really discovering what you truly need, want, and desire. Now, I thought it was quite interesting because I've been doing some research, and this summer was labeled the summer of breakups. Apparently, 30 celebrities broke up over the summer. And so I'm like, well, yeah, this is something we can definitely be moving through. I mean, Venus retrograde can signify breakups, but is also Venus retrograde can bring exes back, people from the past. But Venus retrograde in Leo, I really felt was almost an energy because Leo really wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to feel acknowledged, requires loyalty. And while Venus is retrograde in Leo, this can almost be discovering and becoming aware of where that's missing within the relationship. And this can also bring a lot of confidence and courage to those to leave if that's missing within the relationship. So I thought that was interesting that we have had quite a few breakups in the world with this energy. Another thing I found quite interesting was the Barbie movie was launched or came out within 24 hours of Venus stationing retrograde. And when you look back, I guess Barbie initially came out in the 1950s and Venus was retrograde then. So I thought there's a Venus story with Barbie and a Venus retrograde story with Barbie. It's also said that they worked with an astrologer, which was quite interesting. So I don't know if that is 100% accurate, but it's definitely been talked about that the Barbie, those who are working on the Barbie movie do have an astrologer on hand, and it wasn't by accident that the Barbie movie came out right before Venus station retrograde. So that was another interesting thing I thought was kind of cool, actually, especially too because it's Venus, it's feminine energy. Barbie is a very feminine movie. So totally Venusian. And so with this Venus now, so Venus is now direct. So this is where, as soon as Venus stations, there can almost be clarity, right? We can now start to have some clarity on the direction that we want to move in with whatever it is that we've been sitting with over the last couple of months, whether this has to do with relationships. And if you are wondering how this Venus energy is working with you, I've posted a video on my channel going into all 12 rising signs, so you can check that out. But Venus, when we have a planet, Venus being in Leo is going to work with the Leo area of your life, but also can be working with the houses and the themes and topics that have Libra and Taurus, because Venus rules Libra and Taurus. So, generally speaking, Venus has to do with relationships. Venus has to do with money and finances and self-love and what we truly need, want, and desire. And being in Leo, going through this whole reflection period, ahead, there may have been some reevaluating those things. So for example, I have Venus retrograde in my 12th house, and I've really been working on reprogramming my subconscious so that I can change certain habits, patterns, and behaviors that I no longer want to experience in my life. And because the 12th house can rule the subconscious, if I wouldn't have tapped into that energy, I could have very well been dealing with some self-undoing behaviors and energies, because the 12th house also rules self-undoing. So we can always transmute and manipulate this energy to really work with us instead of against us when we are aware. So I would love to hear your Venus retrograde stories in the comments below, and let me know what you've been reflecting on, the energy you've been redirecting, and what you really want to implement, with this Venus retrograde now that Venus is direct. And this is where we can receive clarity. We can have an understanding of the direction that we finally want to move in with these themes and topics. So as we come into the week on Monday, we now have Venus direct, and we are going to have Jupiter station retrograde. So this really happens within a short period of time. We go from having Venus retrograde to Jupiter retrograde. Now, Jupiter retrograde is an energy of belief systems, insight, wisdom, knowledge. Jupiter's known as the great benefic. So this energy is very beneficial. When we have Jupiter retrograde, this is where we can be reprogramming belief systems. We can start to become aware of certain belief systems that are no longer aligned with who we are and the direction that we want to move in. Now, when Jupiter stations retrograde, Jupiter will be at 15 degrees of Taurus. We will actually also have the moon in Taurus coming in to the week on Monday, not that far away from this Jupiter station. But the interesting thing about this energy is that there will be a trine from Mercury retrograde at 15 degrees of Virgo. Now, this can be really beautiful energy for seeking information or knowledge on something and having that supportive information coming in, where maybe you are finally, gaining clarity on something you've been working with, reflecting on. This can be having a beautiful conversation with somebody that's very supportive, that can really shift and change your direction with something. Remember that Jupiter can really bring internal growth and personal growth. So Monday, when we have this station, aspect, and this aspect from Mercury, we really do want to pay attention to our intuitive downloads at this time, what we are feeling, our mindset as well, because Mercury rules our mind. Mercury rules our mindset, our mental faculties. So this is an energy too where we want to be paying attention to all of that, because we have this beautiful supportive energy from Jupiter coming in, which can be bringing amazing insight, which can be bringing amazing guidance and opportunities. As we move into Tuesday, very early Tuesday morning, we will have that moon in Taurus form a conjunction to Uranus. And so depending on your time zone, this can be when you are first waking up, it can be while you are sleeping. But I always talk about how when the moon is connecting to Uranus, we want to be mindful of anxiety. This is when we can really have a hard time kind of relaxing our body, emotions. However, this can be a great energy for intuition, awakening, enlightenment, because that is what Uranus can bring. And the moon representing your intuition, it can be beautiful energy. But if you struggle with anxiety or panic attacks, it's where this time period can be a little bit difficult. However, as we move into the day on Tuesday, the moon will enter Gemini, which then shifts and changes that energy. And this happens more towards Tuesday evening. The moon will enter Gemini. Now, when the moon enters Gemini, this is an energy of socializing, multitasking. This is where we want to know more. This is even too where we want to know more information. This can also play as because we have Mercury will be at 14 degrees at this point in Virgo, but still forming that square to Jupiter. There can be more information coming in. So it's almost like too, where we can receive something coming out on Monday. And this can even be collectively, like maybe we're seeing something on the news, there's some type of information coming out, and then on Tuesday we're wanting to know more. We're doing research, we're talking amongst ourselves, we're talking on social media, we're wanting to know more information about what was presented to us. So it can definitely show up like that. But when the moon is in when the moon is in Gemini, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, but this is really an energy of communicating, speaking, reading, writing, socializing, multitasking. This is also a very quick energy. Gemini is very quick. This is where we can be wanting to go from one thing to another, where we're having a very hard time maybe focusing and really doing what needs to be done. However, we have supportive energy with that because Mercury is in Virgo, which really does help to kind of calm that not being able to focus energy with Mercury in Virgo, because Virgo is a very focused energy. Virgo is very grounded, very practical. So it does kind of counteract the moon in Gemini if you do struggle with, not finishing projects or being all over the place. Late Tuesday and early Wednesday. Coming into Wednesday, we have that Mercury Cazimi. So this is a rebirth for Mercury. This is beautiful for intuitive insight, clarity, especially when it has to do with your mind, your mindset, communication. This can also have to do with, again, more information coming out. There may be something presented, but individually, this can be really beautiful for having some type of sporadic insight, especially too because there is that connection to Uranus. It is 10 degrees away, but there's still the connection to Jupiter too in Taurus. So we can hear something about money and finances as well at this time because of the connection to Jupiter and Taurus. But this is really, generally speaking, where we can have just some really sudden insight, enlightenment, clarity, receiving something as well from communicating with somebody, whether somebody says something to you and it just clicks. Sometimes you can have a conversation with someone and there's a word said, or you're listening to music and there's lyrics in a song that really stand out, and you know that is a universal message to you. There's a reason why those lyrics stood out at this time. This can definitely be that energy. So Wednesday, late Tuesday, early Wednesday, we want to be paying attention to that, our surroundings, what our intuition is trying to tell us on this day. This can also have to do with the Venusian themes and topics you've been moving through because of Venus being in Leo and the Sun ruling Leo. This can also be something really beautiful and supportive coming in that has to do with whatever you've been moving through with this Venus energy. On Thursday, we have the Sun forming a beautiful trine to Jupiter retrograde and Taurus. So this is where, again, there's a lot of beautiful supportive energy coming in to bring wisdom, insight, internal understanding, like where you feel intuitively the direction that you need to move in. So definitely be paying attention to your body and how you're feeling energetically, because with this trine, the Sun can be bringing light into certain areas that you've been moving through. If you've been struggling with anything, or if there's been anything that you've been moving through, especially when it has to do with your belief systems, this is where something can come in to reassure and really bring a better understanding for, our belief systems can change, and Jupiter really does rule our belief systems. And with this energy, I think a lot of people will be kind of questioning some of their belief systems. With the Sun coming in, this is where something can really pop up to show you, wow, like, if you've been on that edge where you're in the middle and your belief systems have already been questioned and you're starting to shift and change and think, what I used to believe in is no longer in alignment with me, something can come in to almost let you know that yes, like this new direction, this new belief that you are moving towards is in alignment with you on a soul level. Friday morning, we have the moon enter Cancer. So, this is really beautiful energy for intuition, for feeling, emotions, and nurturing, comfort. This is a time too, well, and also too, because when the moon enters Cancer, the moon will form a trine to Saturn, which is really beautiful energy for getting things done, for, commitments, responsibilities. This can even be too where you are feeling like you are finally ready to commit to something that maybe you've been sitting on the fence with. Cancer can also have to do with our home and our family. So this can be a time where there's something coming in around home and family and commitments and responsibilities that is supportive, maybe even an opportunity because it is a trine. Now, as we move through Friday, eventually the moon will form a square to Mars. And so later in the afternoon on Friday, we do want to watch for that anger, aggression, and conflict, having maybe even to conflict with other people because Mars is in Libra. Libra does rule relationships, others. And so this is a time where we do want to be really mindful and aware because, we understand the energies, but not a lot of people understand certain energies that they're moving through, and they can act a certain way and not even, really understand why. And so with that moon square to Mars, this is where we can be feeling, anger, aggression, and conflict, but we can utilize this energy for motivation, willpower, and drive. So that is a really beautiful way to kind of tap into the Mars energy late Friday and, really bring in some motivation, some willpower, some drive to take action with whatever it is that you are currently moving through at the time. Now, as we come into the weekend, September 9th and September 10th, there's not too much really going on astrologically. We have some moon transits. What I want you to be mindful of, though, is that on Sunday, we will have the moon oppose Pluto. And so Pluto being a very psychic energy, Pluto can also have to do with power and control, can be very intense. Pluto also has to do with really bringing what is beneath the surface to light. So when we have the moon connecting to Pluto, our emotions can feel very heightened, very intense, wanting to know more, emotionally wanting to know more, and really have heightened emotions. Now, this is great for psychic energy, spiritual work, intuitive work. This is where you want to pay attention to your intuitive downloads and really pay attention to what is coming in. This is when you want to meditate because you can really draw in that psychic energy from Pluto and that power and really harness some personal power, bring in some personal power. And another energy I do want to talk about before I end the weekly forecast is that we will, throughout the week and into next week, be moving through this ongoing Venus square to Jupiter. And this is an energy that we've been moving through for a couple of months now because Venus and the square that Venus is going to have to Uranus as well. This has been an ongoing saga. We've had the square when Venus was direct, then we had a square when Venus was retrograde, and now we will have another square with Venus direct. So there is this ongoing energy we've been moving through for a couple months. And Venus squaring Jupiter, this is very much an energy we want to watch for overindulgence. Venus represents what we need, want, and desire. So we want to make sure that there is a happy, healthy balance with what we are doing, what we are eating, what we are experiencing, what we are wanting, right? And this can also have to do with spending money because Venus represents money and finances. So this is a time where you do want to be watching your money spending. We can be spending way too much money with a Venus square to Jupiter. So just a few things that you want to be mindful of. Now, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you align with my energy. And I will connect with you all in the next one.